Okay, now that we've gotten started with our templates, and as we said, we developed the templates at a normal crown, but then we do know that we're in this curve here, and we know that we are going to need to calculate our super elevation and then apply those calculations to this template or to the corridor so that we get the proper cross slope. So we're actually going to do those calculations in a separate file. If we were to look at our file naming, let's see, I'll pull this over. It's the one on the bottom here. So it's just contract number super. And so we're going to create a 2D file for calculating our super elevation. So let's go ahead and do that. File new. And I'm going to pause as I create this. You don't need to watch this over and over. Okay, the super DGN file has been created. Blank file, 2D, starting off. Let's go to our references. And at the very least, we are going to want to reference in the alignment and the corridor. So for now, I'll just reference those two files that are what is needed at the bare minimum. There we go. So we can see, I'll go ahead and rotate this around a little bit. We can see we're in this curved area here. We can see that the corridor actually starts off in a normal crown section, and then it'll transition, and then where the blue is, where the curve is, or arc, that is going to need to be a calculated super elevation. So let's run through that process. Well, that process is also in the corridors tab. If we go over here to super elevation, you'll see that one of the options is that we can create a super elevation by road template. And so let's go ahead and do that. Let's see. Actually, let me back up on that a minute. Let's just first start off with creating super elevation sections. We'll data point, and then I'm going to select that corridor. And then here again, you could either on the fly key in this information, or like I said, what I like to do is in the dialog, I want to check to see what rules file that I'm pointing to, and these are the IDOT. These are the files located in the IDOT workspace, and so that you can see here that this is the table that I would want to use. It's the 6% table for rule sections. Our E selection max is our it's our maximum 6% super. For the L selection, we're going to use our speed table. The posted speed's 55, but we're going to go 5 miles per hour over that. So our design speed is actually going to be 60. So let's go ahead and select 60 miles per hour. Our pivot method is going to be at the crown, and that is the default. And so now we're just going to left click just to accept as we go through there. And this is very fast. As long as you're not trying to manipulate that super elevation manually in any way, actually calculating the super elevation and having these super elevated sections is actually very, very fast. And maybe in a future video, we can go in and I can show you how you could modify in different ways some of these cross slopes or the location of the transition. Actually, really where you could probably learn that best is through Bentley Learn. So I'm going to try to stay away from going through every last little detail, because all of that information can be learned through the Bentley Learn. But I'm just saying, for this particular project, this is the method that I use to go ahead and calculate the super elevation. and it placed these shapes out here for me. There are super elevation editors, a couple different ones that I could have used, again, to make modifications, but I'm not going to do that. In this case, I can just stick with the calculated super elevation and the calculated transitions based on that criteria that I keyed in earlier. So, okay, so now I'm going to go back into the corridor file. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply that super elevation to the corridor that we just created. And so that will override our cross slope, our nominal cross slope of 1.5%, and then call out, whatever the cross section is. If I'm in transition, it's going to be somewhere between 1.5 to 6%. Or if I'm more towards the center of the curve, it's going to be at full super 6%. And the way that it's overriding that information is really, it's something called a point control that we can talk a little bit about that later. Because really with that calculated super elevation, that's what we're doing. We're controlling the point. Remember, we created those points at 12 foot at a 1.5% cross slope, and we are going to control that point. We're going to override that point. And the way that we're going to use the point control in this particular case of super elevation is by attaching it to the corridor. Let's see, let me find the right one here. Or I should say assign the super elevation to the corridor. But we first have to reference in that super elevation file that we just worked in. And there you can see the super elevation. The dark blue is full super. It gets a little lighter in transition, and then all the way at the end here, it's going to be a nominal 1.5%. And even though it goes right through that station equation, that's not a problem. Takes all that into account, which is nice. And so we referenced in the super elevation. Now let's assign it to that corridor. So we're going to go to our calculate button, assign to corridor. And it says locate our first super elevation section, which that's this blue line right here. We select that. We reset to complete. Now we're going to locate the corridor that we're assigning the super elevation to. And then it's going to show me the points that it plans on overriding. There's the pivot point at the center line, which the name of that point was CL for center line. We've got the left edge of pavement. And I thought this one would have said right, but I guess it was just named EOP for the right side. So let's check that out. Let's say OK. And now it should override that. Let's go ahead and just create a dynamic cross section, or visualize a cross section by clicking on that corridor, choosing a view, and toggling through. There we go. And so the way that you can tell that we've overwritten those points was because see how it's a pink point now on each end, a blue at the middle? That's the pivot. You can see that the cross slope is no longer 1.5%. As I toggle through, I get into closer to the center of the curve. I would expect the cross slope to be 6% now. So let's check that, see what we get. And there you go. You can see that we did not override the width of the pavement, but we did override the cross slope. So we're in full super there, or if we hold our right mouse button down, go to locate station via data point, I come down here somewhere where I know that we're in transition, like right here. Data point to accept. Let's see. There we go. At that point, we are in transition. So 3.53, at this particular station. So there you go. We've calculated the super elevation. We've applied it to the corridor. And so we will go ahead and stop the video there. And the next video, we will move on to continuing with our proposed template.